have this recurring dream. I'm in a forest. The thick canopy of leaves above filters out the sunlight, causing the tree trunks to appear as shadowy silhouettes of twisted, hunched figures with many arms. There is no sound, no birds chirping, no rustle of leaves in the wind, nor any animals rooting through the undergrowth. Just silence, except for the sound of my breathing and the crunch of fallen foliage beneath my feet. As I make my way through the forest, I come across a house atop a steep hill. I don't know enough about architecture to accurately date the house, but it looks old. Old but well maintained. The timber frames and window paneling freshly painted a deep brown, while the plaster between the frames was a clean white. One single room on the top floor of the house has a light on, and for the briefest moment, I could swear I see a human figure staring out the window. But then they're gone. In the dream, I make my way towards the house, my breathing growing heavier as I scramble up that hill. As I near the building, keeping one eye on the potentially inhabited window, a feeling of excitement builds. Something will happen when I reach the house. I just know it. Something good? Perhaps. But perhaps not. Either way, I need to reach the house. I scramble up the hill faster, more excitedly. As I reach for the door handle, the door flies open by itself. Up to this point in the dream, I remember everything as clear as day, but I can never remember what I see inside the house. I stand in the doorway, staring at whatever it is that lies beyond, wanting more than anything to leave, but my legs have stopped working. They're frozen, stuck to the ground. Suddenly, the whole world around me falls from beneath my feet, like I'm in a pinball machine and someone has bumped the table. There's a pain between my shoulder blades, and I realize I've been pushed from behind. I fall forward through the doorway. At that moment, I always wake with a start. I'm sorry for the long description of my dream, but I have a feeling it's important to understand the strange events that happened to me recently. You see, this weekend, two of my friends, let's call them Matt and Rachel, we decided to go for a walk in the local woods. We do this quite regularly. Last year, they adopted a dog, Boba, so it's always nice to go along with him to walk the dog, play a bit of fetch, and just get out into nature for a while. It was a typical December morning, cold and frosty, but with a clear blue sky. As we were following our usual path around the forest, Boba and I got into a game of fetch. Now, Boba is a big dog, so we like to launch the ball as far as we can into the woods, watch him go crashing through the undergrowth, disappearing for a few seconds here and there, before, eventually, returning with his tail wagging and the ball in his mouth. So, there I was, having fun just throwing the ball and waiting for the inevitable next step. Pry the ball out of Boba's jaws. Yeah, he never really got the hang of drop. I found myself waiting and waiting. No sign of Boba to be seen or heard. Not even a crunch of frosty fallen leaves under his feet. Just silence. "Bo?" called Matt. "Hey, Boba." Several seconds passed, and still no response. Just as worry began to trickle into our minds, "I'm sure everything is fine," Boba's shaggy brown form came crashing out of the tree line, wagging his tail and jumping excitedly up at Rachel. No ball, though. Where did that get to? I pointed this out to Matt, who shrugged it off. Plenty of balls at home, he said. I still felt bad for losing their ball, though, and I decided to quickly step off the path, just to see if I could see it. Although from the path, the trees didn't look too dense. It didn't take long before I was completely out of sight of Matt, Rachel, and the path. I suddenly felt uneasy. Ever since I was a child, I had not liked being left by myself. What if something happened, and no one was there to find me for days? I know this is silly. The forest isn't large, and Matt and Rachel were within ball throwing distance. And so I suppressed this feeling as I had done many times before, and I just continued on my search. I soon found the ball. Ahead of me was a drop-off, probably less than 7 feet deep, but steep. I had never seen this before today, having never properly deviated from the path. At the bottom lay Boba's ball. I pictured him standing on the ledge, trying to find a way down, and I understood now why he had disappeared for so long. Scooting down, placing my butt on the ledge and sliding forwards, I made my way down the ledge, and I picked up the ball. Before I had the chance to set off, something caught my eye. Tucked away in the trees, deeper in the forest away from the path, was a building. While the building was run down and overgrown with moss and vines, almost a ruin really, there was no denying this was eerily similar to the building from my dreams. With a lick of paint on the old rotting timber frame, quite a bit of gardening and some restoration of the old crumbled plaster walls, the house would be near identical. Yes, there's the window, which should have a light on and a hint of someone watching. No light, however. Not even really a window. More of just a hole in the wall. I guess the glass was shattered and the frame rotted long ago. And there was definitely no feeling of being watched. I certainly felt very alone, though. What was this place? Hey, guys? I called in the vague direction of the path, where my friends were standing waiting for me. Come see what I found. No response. Now I think about it, I haven't heard a word from either of them. And surely, I didn't walk far enough for them to be completely out of earshot. I had a panicked deja vu moment of my dream. No sound to be heard, except my own heavy breathing and footfalls. And I realized I needed to calm myself down. I could still hear birds singing, and I was pretty sure I just saw a squirrel scamper up a nearby tree. Hell, I could even see the bright blue sky above me. This wasn't my dream. It couldn't be. Yet, this had to be the house from my dreams. I was sure of it. Curiosity outweighing anxiety, I approached the building, circled it, glancing through windows, when I plucked up the nerve. Nothing out of the ordinary, just a ruined shack. Maybe this wasn't that house after all. In my dream, the door would fly open as I went to touch the handle. Curiously, and not entirely sure why, I I moved to the front door of the house and I extended my hand towards the handle. My fingers inched nearer. Subconsciously, I had stopped breathing. Sometime before they made contact, the door was going to fly open, just like in my dream. I knew it. But I was wrong. My gloved hand made contact with the cold, dull metal of the doorknob. Nothing. Weirdly, part of me was disappointed. I guess a tiny part of me hoped that today, by finding this house and facing whatever lay behind the door, I could rid myself of those dreams forever. If I'm being totally honest though, a bigger part of me just wanted to know what lies behind the door. It's the one part of the dream I can never remember. This is the same house. Whatever is on the other side of the door in my dreams has to be here, on the other side of this door. Go on, open it, find out. My hand began to twist the knob, but then I paused. I considered calling out to my friends again. Where were they? Was I really going to open this door alone? I had a feeling in my gut that whatever was on the other side of this door in my dreams wouldn't be there if the others were here. If they were here, we would find a rundown living room and nothing more. No, I had to do this by myself. I can't explain why, but I was sure of it. And so, I twisted the handle and I threw open the door. Nothingness lay beyond. An indescribable blackness, vast and empty. Not just darkness. In the darkness there is always something. As a child, we went on a school trip to some caves. Deeper and deeper we went, and eventually, the tour guide had us turn off our lights. We were thrown into the most complete darkness that I have ever experienced. Our guide explained how almost no sunlight reached this deep down. She told us we could place our hand inches in front of our nose, and we still wouldn't see it. I tried, and she was right. But I knew it was there. I knew there was the ground below me, cave walls to my sides, and a ceiling above. Classmates, teachers, the tour guide were all around me. I knew that there was other stuff out there in the darkness. I just couldn't see it. Even as the slight fear of the dark that every child has, even if they're too proud to admit it, began to creep over me. My fears were about what was out there. Bats, rats, ghosts and ghouls and murderers. My mind almost tricked me into believing that I could just make out a giant, grotesque face looking down on us, ready to swallow us whole, and I had to fight back a scream. When we fear the dark, we fear what hides within it. But what lay behind that front door of this strange house in the woods, the house which had haunted my dreams for as long as I could remember, what lay behind that door was entirely different and more horrifying than even the blackness of those caves. An indescribable emptiness. In the caves, I knew there was stuff out there, hidden in the darkness. Behind that door, there was nothing. If I were to step through that doorway, beyond the threshold of our universe of matter and of somethingness, I would not feel the ground beneath my feet. There would be no walls around me, nor ceiling above, no classmates or teachers or tour guides, no bats, rats, ghosts, ghouls or murderers. Just nothing. I would float there in nothingness for all of eternity, the only matter in a void, isolated. At this point, I remembered what comes next in the dream. The bump. Something pushes me from behind, and I fall into the house. Horror swept over me, and I realized that I had to leave. Now. I stumbled backwards, crying out for my friends, for Matt and for Rachel, even for Boba, as I fled in their direction. Reaching for the ledge from which I'd fallen earlier, I stopped just to catch my breath. The slope that towered before me, it seemed so much steeper and higher than before. An unscalable wall barricading my retreat from the horror that lay behind, extending left and right until disappearing behind unnaturally dense trees. If I would try to climb back to the path here, I would surely slip on the frost and break my leg, trapping me forever. As my eyes scanned the environment for a way out, they fell upon the house, and my stomach dropped. Enormous tentacles of nothingness were expanding out of the doorway, reaching blindly as though from some colossal sea monster hidden in the depths of the ocean. Smaller legs of the void were crawling along the ground, a sinister cross between Thing from the Addams family and some oversized spider, leaving a path of literal annihilation into the void in their wake, erasing the world behind them. I had to find a section of the ledge which I could climb before being dragged into the void by one of those things. If I could just climb out and find my friends, I would be safe. I don't know how I knew this, but I knew it was true. And so I ran parallel to the ledge, trying to ignore the building in the corner of my eye and the threat of unending displacement from material existence in the forefront of my mind. It soon became clear that the ledge formed a giant circle, with the house directly in the center. I was in an inescapable arena, in a cage match against an unbeatable foe, and the penalty for losing was an eternity of desperate isolation. The void was getting closer now, maybe a third of the area of my prison having been consumed, and the tentacles surrounding me in a huge writhing mass of empty space. Closer they came. I curled into a ball on the ground. Now, one was so close that I could reach out and place my arm inside it, to be lost for all of eternity. The same inevitable fate which awaited me. More tentacles enveloped me, forming a great dome that seemed to stretch on forever. The smaller spider-like branches of the void spun their web along the ground, annihilating everything in their wake, leaving me on an island disconnected from the material universe. In one last desperate attempt, I searched my island, begging for a way out. The isolation was inescapable at this stage, but perhaps there was a way to minimize my suffering. A sharp rock or a stick, perhaps. Anything to just end things. As my island got smaller and smaller, I closed my eyes and fell into the fetal position, allowing my despair to finally and completely engulf me. Then I heard it. Quiet at first, but undeniable. My name. Someone was calling my name. Matt. And then a woman's voice. Rachel. My eyes snapped open, and the void was gone. I was laying on the ground in a well-lit forest clearing. A ledge, far less intimidating than it had been a moment earlier, on my right, and a ruin of a house on my left. Above me was Matt. He had seen me, and he was calling out to check I was okay. I told him I was fine. I just slipped down the frosty ledge due to the frost and hadn't hurt myself, and that we should leave. Too late. Matt caught sight of the house, and his eyes lit up with childlike wonder. He slid down the ledge and sprinted to the house, excited to explore. Rachel and Boba slid down after him. While I watched from my position by the ledge, Matt and Rachel entered the front door to the house to explore the rundown ruin. Whether he sensed something wrong with the house, or just that I didn't want to be alone, Boba sat beside me while those two explored. Eventually, we returned to the footpath and we just finished off our walk. As we left the forest, Matt wondered aloud why he and Rachel had never discovered that house on their many walks. They didn't have an answer, other than the fact that they rarely left the path. Personally, I think they could have charted every inch of that forest, and they never would have discovered that place.